The Civil War of the 1800s was always spoke about to black Americans as a period and era when blacks were slaves, and the North with its Union soldiers came to the South to free and save the black slaves from the Confederate South and its evil white slaveholders who enslaved black people. That's what we were all taught. We were taught Abraham Lincoln, who was the president of these of the states of the United States, and his Union soldiers saved us, emancipated us, and all this type of stuff. But who did he emancipate us from? You know, they show us pictures of the Confederacy. They just basically teach us about the flag, even KKK and stuff like that, and indoctrinate us with ideas that there were no black people of any significance out there that was nothing but, that was anything but slaves. They made us feel like in the South, in the Confederacy, all blacks were slaves and nothing more, nothing less. But then when you go and dig in and just do simple research on the Confederacy, you start to find a lot of funny things. The first thing is the president. The president of the Confederacy was a man by the name of Jefferson Davis. And why I say it was funny, because when you look him up and you see a picture of his wife, brothers and sisters, it's a black woman. That's right. The first lady of the Confederacy was a black woman, clear as day, Varina Davis. That's right. It blew my mind. I felt like we was cheated of over 150 years of Southern history with them, sort of keeping this from us. It has to be more than just that. If they hid the first lady from us right in front of our faces, they really didn't hide it. It was there for us to see for years. Because I seen this picture years ago, But in this picture, brothers and sisters, we can clearly see she's a light brown woman of color. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, this one is it. This is it right here. How could a black woman be the first lady of the Confederate South if Lincoln and all them boys from up north had to come down there and free the blacks? That would make it seem like there were no black people in power. There were zero black people that could have even made it to the Confederate White House and be first lady. Like, what? Even though the first lady, was a black woman, and the first person that died on the Confederate side that helped spark the Civil War was black as well. And inside the book, he's another one of the key blacks in the Confederate South. You definitely got to get the book, The Black First Lady of the Confederacy and Other Key Blacks in the Confederate South. We will get to him. We have a separate part of the documentary where we're gonna get into him. But back to Varina, guys. Varina was born in Natchez, Mississippi. Even though some online sources claim Louisiana, she was granddaughter of Richard Howell, who fought in the Revolutionary War and served as governor of New Jersey for multiple terms. Keep in mind, during his reign as governor and prior to, blacks had the right to vote. And also, this was all the way in the 1790s, a time when we taught where black people had zero rights. You know what I mean? This was her grandfather. And blacks was voting then in the 1790s in Jersey. So, even though that's up north, we're taught we didn't have any rights to the civil rights era or something. Varina was always quoted saying she was a half-breed. Modern day historians claim it's because she had family on both sides of the war, North and South. So trying to say she's half-breed, North and Southerner. Maybe she was saying something different because her picture screams it, to me at least, And go get the book where, I have more information on her family, her dad, her mom, and other clues for you guys to go research and, put in some work and add on to. They don't give us much documentation on her family race. It seems that they originate in Europe, of course. But we have to realize all Europeans that came over were not white. A lot were black, light skin, dark skin, brown skin. It's a lot of good information out there on the it's a lot of good information out there and documents out there to prove this. In her time, in Verena time, when people encountered her, they mistaken her for an Indian squaw. Like a squaw was like, I guess, a derogatory term at that time, but they mistaken her for being indigenous, Native American. And this is one of the sources I use for the book. First Lady of the Confederacy, Verena Davis War. On page 112, they describe how she looked to the people in her era and her time. It's a quote. The First Lady was a dark lady in the literal, literally meaning she was dark, not in Shakespearean sense at all. You see what it says? And whites commented on it during the war than at any other time in her life. Her contemporaries, including people who liked her, noticed her dark skin and her brunette complexion. Keep in mind, brunette means brown complexion. They're not talking about her hair. They said complexion. They didn't say hair. Her dark skin and brunette complexion. While a Richmond editor who disliked her called her tawny and said she looked like a mulatto. Clear as day. This is on page 112 of that book. Like I said, in my book, have plenty of more sources explaining how, this is a woman of color. And a mulatto. And Creole, she was mistaken for all these different type of ethnic groups because how she looks. She can't pass to me because of how she looks. Obviously, to me, she can pass for a mulatto and I guess maybe even a native. And they said, she favored a Creole, because she was very, very fluent in French. She learned French in school. And she went to school in Pennsylvania when she was younger. Some even thought she was Creole, because of her being fluent in French. But that was because, she was educated in Pennsylvania by a colored French black woman that went by the name of Madame Deborah Lordz, a migrant who exiled from Haiti during the Haitian Revolution. This is the interesting part. Verena and President Davis had 5 children together, but I'm going to just touch on one specific child, and he got his own part in the book as well. He's another one of the key black in the Confederate South. Goes by the name of Jim Limber. If a picture's worth 1,000 words, here we go again. This is one of the children inside of the Confederate White House. Believe it or not. It's crazy. But yes, he has his own section in the book as well. And in the documentary that we're dropping for the book, he's going to have his own section in the documentary as well. They even try to make up a story to cover why there's a black child in the Confederate White House by saying Verena was, she was riding in her carriage one day with her driver riding her in the carriage, and she seen a little black kid being beaten by, I guess, different articles. Some articles claim it's a black man that was beating him, and some say it's a black woman. Go check the book out. I'll give some sources and all that. But she supposedly had, this mean Confederate, this mean woman who's the first lady of the Confederacy. Because remember, the Confederacy was supposed to be some racist place. And, she hopped out her carriage, told her driver to pull over. She hopped out the carriage and saved Jim from being beaten. And this person that he was being beaten by was another person of color as well. And they were his guardian at the time. It stated that they was his guardian. And her and, Verena and Jefferson went down there and they said and claimed they went down there and gave Jim his freedom papers. Like the black people that was his guardians, he was their slave, or I don't know. They don't really get into more detail than that. And when you try to find the paperwork to see if he was really adopted, no paperwork exists nowhere for that. So I have to come to the conclusion that this was their biological child. You know, you could see little Jim looking sort of like a mulatto. You know, he was described as a mulatto by the people of the time too. And as we know, mulatto mean mix. It doesn't always have to be a black and white mix. It could be an indigenous mix with black, or, you know. But yes, in the book, I go into detail of records that I found about Jim and all that type of stuff. Ain't it funny how so far we have 2 people of color in the Confederate White House in very high positions, because Jim is the first son of the Confederacy, and Verena, she's the first lady of the Confederacy. So in a time where we supposedly looked at as less than others and were slaves, why would her or Jefferson have sympathy to go down there and save him and get him some type of papers and adopt him? And it just doesn't make any sense. It seems like there was a cover-up going on, maybe later on in time, to explain the story of Jim and Verena, like, because, you know, whoever took charge after they fell out of power seemed like they wanted to cover this up. Because if we're taught this in school, right, this changes our whole paradigm of the Union versus Confederacy and everything about the Civil War. And in the book, I go into depth of more characters, and I go into depth of more people, black people or people of color, whatever terminology we feel comfortable with, in the Confederate South, that also was free and had very, very high positions in society. Go get the book, check it out. But yeah, it blew my mind, this whole story with the Verena and Jim. The story of Verena Davis is filled with mystery of our Southern history, you know? It's a lot of other dots that need to be connected. They seem to wipe us out of Southern Confederate history and remixed it. Researchers out there to go put in that work, go get that book and see them articles I drop, see them books I drop, that quote, extra quotes to go look into and add on to this. You know, this is gonna open up a wormhole, you know, and we're gonna shake it up with this one. Most definitely. Full documentary coming out soon. The book is out now. infolordz.com is the website where you could get the book at. And you could definitely see the exclusive documentary first at infolordz.com. You know, go check out our Patreon also. On our Patreon, we're going to have tons of videos, throwbacks, new ones, and plenty of other stuff that I'm not going to put on YouTube. So definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe and share this. And go get that book.